Hey, Drago, how are you?
Good. How are you, Debbie?
I am very excited to be talking with you. I always love talking to stunt guys, stunt coordinators who make that leap to feature film direction. And I got to tell you, you made a really good leap with the stairs.
Thank you.
You bounded up these stairs 3 and 4 at a time. This is totally unexpected. Typically, when you see somebody with a stunt background jump into storytelling, it's still very action centric. You are very character centric. This is not an action film that happens to have characters. This is a character driven story that happens to have creatures burning and some fun things happening.
Yeah.
I am beyond impressed. I love this film. I could not look away from it. You hit everything that you needed to hit with this, from your cinematography to your sound to your casting to your story, the script, the character development. Everybody is three-dimensional. And even and the editing, Michael Tang's editing is so key here, and the way you hold back on reveals and building tension. Job so well done, Drago. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was really important to keep that that pacing, and make sure that the pacing was tight, as tight as we can get it on a low budget film.
Yeah, this really, and the way that what really drags and it pulls you, just like those creepy chalk fingers and elbows that come out from behind the stairs, just like they reach and they grab hold of Jesse and pull him in. That's exactly what you do with the audience in that moment. You pull us in and you do not let go. And so well done. That totally took me by surprise. With that tiny little chalky reveal. I absolutely loved that image and the design you came up for with the quote unquote creature, dimensional being, whatever we're going to call this thing, that built stairs in the middle of a forest. But in that one scene, that shot, you drag us in, you take hold, and you do not let go. And I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
This all starts with the script. Now I've heard urban legends over the years. I'm from back east in suburban Philly, and there are so many legends, Revolutionary War era, about things that pop up in the forest, in the woods, things that soldiers allegedly saw back in the 1700s. Where did the idea for these beautiful, pristine white stairs in the middle of the forest come from? And by the way, who's cleaning them and keeping them so nice and white?
That's the secret.
Darn.
Where they came from is it's kind of a not really a long story, but I knew that I wanted to do a horror film. I wanted to kind of step out of doing like an action film for my first film. I wanted to show people that I could do something other than just action. I wanted to do something with character driven, comedic, a little bit of scariness. And so I knew I wanted to do like a hunting or a hiking film, but I wanted to try to do something that was like, different and didn't, more of an original story. And so I just started researching urban legends, and all of the cryptid urban legends that I came across, I was like, they're just not really hitting the mark for my first film. And so, I was just like, I just didn't want to do like a Bigfoot movie. I didn't want to do, there's a couple of other really cool folklore Native American creatures that really hit it on the nail, but I would need a budget for that. So, there was a lot of things I had to kind of think about was, how can I do this with our budget, but also make it more interesting. So finally I stumbled upon this forum where people were posting crazy stairs that they found, hiking through the woods, and they're like, oh my gosh, does anybody know where these stairs came from? And it just immediately I was like, oh, that's our catalyst. And so I called up my buddy Jason Lowe, and I was like, this is our script, this is what we're going to do. And we sat down and started going at it.
Well, and your entree of having it be young Jesse find these stairs. Now, if it were me as an adult and I saw stairs like that in the middle of the forest, I'm running the opposite direction immediately.
Right.
But a kid, they're going to go right to that, man. They're going to want to.
Exactly.
So that entree is so key, and I love it. And Thomas Wethington, he knocks it out of the park. You did amazingly well casting him in that role, because his face lights up with joy when he sees these steps and climbs up them, and it's like, oh, cool. And
Yeah.
every little kid you can think of would be doing the same thing, which is also why I think this is a film that every parent should be showing their young child and saying, this is why you don't go stray from mom and dad and grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, I would have totally done that. If I would have saw them, I would have been like, whoa, cool, or would have totally went and climbed up when I was a little guy. So, yeah, I totally understand.
And you add another element in there to reel us in, because I was expecting him to drop through the top of the stairs or just vanish into thin air. But no, then he comes back down the stairs because he hears something.
Right.
Which is where your sound design comes into play. You really embrace the sounds of the forest, the wood, the leaves under the feet, the running on packed dirt, a distinct sound that comes from behind the stairs, the side of the stairs. So your sound comes into play here. So, it really sparks that kid imagination. And you zing us, man. Drago, you take us on that ride.
Thank you. Yeah, I talked to Danny Knudsen, which was our first sound designer.
Uh-huh.
And then David Ho came in later on. He's with Bad Animals up in Seattle and helped put a final mix and added a couple of other little cool Foley sounds and stuff. But early on, it was very important to make sure that, one, we really capture that out in the woods hiking experience with the noises and everything, but also try to come up with very intriguing sounds and just to kind of put people on edge,
Yeah.
but yet also kind of feel comfortable at the same time until then when everything really goes sideways, then the sound design really picks up.
It really does. And by the same token, not just do we have the sounds in the woods, but we have the man-made sounds, such as Adam Corson's character of Nick, who brought everything but the kitchen sink with him.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That is your comic relief for the whole film, Drago, as they're tossing things out of his backpack and his gear, and 10 cans of chili. And I didn't see anybody pull out a can opener, though. You've got tents, and it's like everything but the kitchen sink. And I was roaring. I was laughing. But then you immediately snap us out of that. And here again, it's Michael's work with editing. You snap us out of that with your sound, with screams. And it's beautiful. But Ryan Purcell's cinematography, I got to hand it to the two of you. Your visual tonal bandwidth and your use of framing in telling the stairs is so important here. And you do such a great job because you really keep us in a 2-shot to a mid-wide for the bulk of the film. And as people start falling by the wayside in the woods, as people will do in the woods, the camera starts coming in tighter. And
Yeah.
so as you're increasing and ratcheting up the tension through the pacing, you're also mirroring that with your framing. And I love that design. Talk to me about how you and Ryan came up with the lighting and lensing design and construct that you have, because it's very, very effective in this story.
I'm glad you noticed. We sat down at length, because I had a complete vision from like start to finish. And I also talked to my colorist, Mark Todd Osborne, who is an award-winning colorist, before we even started shooting as well, and just asked him his thoughts about it. And how I wanted it was, I just really wanted it to be, soft and beautiful, and just have like those colors pop. And, all the way through the movie, it slowly gets darker, and,
Mm-hmm.
some of the colors get muted, and then some colors just go from the wayside. But the lighting was always there. I really wanted to be able to see everybody's faces, even during the dark night shots. Because, I've watched a lot of horror films, but, a lot of times you see a movie and it's, you can only watch it in the theater. It's almost unwatchable on your TV because
Mm-hmm.
it's too dark. So I really, wanted to make sure that we had lit it in a way that once it went to post and went to Mark Todd Osborne, our colorist, he could polish it in a way that, the details of the actors and the scenes themselves wouldn't just fall apart.
Yeah, and that works really well, because in those night shots, while you and Ryan embrace the negative space that gets created, you don't go into a solid black. You use the shadow that's created through fire. You use the shadow that comes through moonlight, so that while we have some negative space, it's not totally pitch dark. And
Right.
of course, when we're in the warehouse, plant, whatever we're going to call it, um, with the stairs, the industrial look is so cool. You never really put us in total darkness. We've got deep shades of grays happening, and then
Correct.
you pop it with a headlamp, and it's a very distinct GE white bright light bulb. It's not like a
Yes.
yellowed or anything like that. It's that GE. People laugh at me and I say, no, go buy a GE bright white light bulb, not a soft white, the bright white. Um, and
Exactly.
and that's what you did. And so it catches, even though we know there's shades of gray in there, it then takes us by surprise and gives us another jump and builds the tension up again. You and Ryan put a lot of thought into this visual construct, and it shows. It really shows, Drago.
Yeah, yeah, he was a very instrumental partner in the vision of it. We sat down many times, even during filming, as we were going along, and just discussing shots and lighting, and just really constantly just communicating. And Ryan Purcell just knocked it out of the park. His eye, his professionalism. His experience alone, just speaks volumes on this film. And it was just a pleasure to work with him. And I look forward to doing more film with him.
Yeah, you've got a great collaboration going here, and
Yeah.
it shows on the screen. But, I'm curious because as a stunt coordinator, as a fight choreographer, there's always a dance between the character, the action, and the camera. Here, while you don't have all of the fight sequencing that you are normally used to, you still have a dance between the characters amongst themselves and the camera. Was there any kind of learning curve for you in making that adjustment from the action and how that interplays with the camera, to how just the regular characters and that dialogue and story plays with their movement? Do we let them turn their back? How are we going to block this? I'm curious if there was any kind of learning curve for you in that respect, and especially for an entire film, not just one scene.
Yeah. Right. There wasn't really, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I did learn, but talking about the dance, there really wasn't a whole lot that, I was learning as I was going on that, just because, when you're like choreographing or being a second unit director and doing stunts on set, you're already understanding where the cameras need to be placed to capture the action and the nuances of the characters themselves. So when we got into it, it felt almost really natural. But I would say about 90% of the film just kind of felt like that way. But then there was a couple of challenging ones, like for instance the agitated man and ghost mom scene. We knew what we wanted to get out of that, but we spent probably a good couple of hours just blocking it out and making sure that the actors knew what they were going to be doing. We knew what we were going to be doing with our camera moves. That's where Ryan comes in. He was just so instrumental in walking me through some of those steps because of his experience. So.
And it's interesting you mentioned that scene, because something that you and your colorist did in that scene is you saturated the man and the ghost mom. The color on them is saturated, while everything else is more or less the natural, rich forest greens and browns. And I found that really striking, and especially, red for blood. You guys really make that pop, because we don't really see a whole lot of blood in this film. So when we do, it's got to be memorable. And you do that with your saturation, and it works well.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
The music is also a key part here. Working with BC Smith in your music, with fights, you don't, stunts, you don't really have to worry about, what's the music going to be? Half the time you don't even have temp track at that point.
Exactly.
What were your thoughts musically as to what you wanted for this film? Because you could have gone into the total techno horror mode that so many people do, like a Zimmer kind of touch. You could have gone Bernard Herrmann or Max Steiner and orchestral. But what were your
Carpenter.
what were your considerations in working with Smith about about the music?
Well, I knew BC. He's won an award and from his Smoke Signals at Sundance, and I listened to a couple of others soundtracks, and I just knew that he reached out to us actually. He saw one of our Dread Central articles in the beginning with Adam Corson, and so he saw the log line and was just like, oh my gosh, this looks really interesting. So he looked on IMDb, saw that there was a couple of people that he had worked with, including one of our ADs, and gave him a call. And he's like, hey, I know this is kind of out of the norm, but do they have somebody to do the score? And he's like, well, let me ask. And we didn't. And so I was like, yeah, put him in touch with me. And after having conversations and listening to his stuff, I just knew exactly what I wanted to do, and that was basically give him free rein. Because when you're writing the script, you have a story, and then when you then direct it, it becomes a different story. And then when you give it to your composer, now he's accenting it and creating a different story with the music. So what I really wanted from him was to make sure that all of the wood shots and all of that music was very organic. And then when we go, don't want to give any spoilers away, but anything around the stairs, underneath the stairs, or has to do with the creatures of the stairs, then that becomes more industrial and more, otherworldly. And I feel like he really knocked that out of the park. I really love his soundtrack.
Yeah, and I really love the appropriateness with your emotional beats in this film, because it's not just emotion it's capturing. He's also musically capturing a lot of your visuals, and
Yeah.
it truly does work well. But once you have everything on the page, and you know you're going to shoot this in the woods, and you really take advantage of that, and we get the not just the majesty of the woods and the huge trees that have been there forever, but you also get that claustrophobic sense, that isolated sense of these people are in there, and it's not that the forest is blanketing them in comfort, it's hiding something. And here again, that's kudos to Ryan in what he's
Yep.
capturing with the angles. But when you have a situation like that, your cast, that ensemble is so key. We have to believe that they are friends, that they snipe, that the women are better than the men and more adept at things. We have to believe all of that. So,
Yep.
how challenging was the casting? And then, of course, you throw in for their cachet, you got Schneider and you got Kathleen Quinlan.
Yeah. And Trin Miller from
Yes.
Fucking Fantastic as well.
But your bulk cast of you got Stacy and Tyra and Brent and Adam, and then Thomas is really a standout on his own. But you've got that core, those core four. How difficult was that to cast?
It really, well, we had a casting director, Jeremy Gordon, and he knew all of them personally. And as funny as it is, they're actually all friends as well. So they already had like kind of a connection, and he kind of sold us on the idea that, like, listen, they're already friends. They already have that camaraderie and can bounce, comedy and whatnot off of each other. Give them a try. And so, set up some Zoom calls and did a little video with Adam Corson. And as soon as I saw his video, I was just like, I sent it over. Well, at first I texted Jason, my co-writer. I was like, I found the guy. Found our guy. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sending you over the video right now. So I sent him over the video, and he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, yeah, this is him. And so we just knew right away that Adam was him. And I didn't even need to see tape from Josh Crotty. Just having a Zoom call with him, I knew, like, he almost embodies Dirty Doug character in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way he was talking, his inflection, I just knew right away, like, yeah, he's also perfect. And then, of course, then Tyra, she was amazing, and Stacy as well.
Yeah, and I love, and this is kudos not only to Adam and his performance as Nick, but to you and to Jason in developing the characters, the arc and the growth that we see Nick go through in this film is outstanding. He doesn't stagnate, because he could have been a total buffoon for the entire film. And
It could have been.
you're watching the film, and it's a situation where, okay, who's going to be the first one to die or disappear in a horror film? And you're thinking, okay, the guy with 10 cans of chili and no can opener, he's going bye-bye.
Exactly.
He's but then you see him run with panic on his face. And it's like, okay, he can outrun people, so okay, maybe he's got a shot. But totally, by casting Adam, you totally turn it on its ear, and then you give us this great arc, emotional development and growth in him. And
especially him and his brother as well.
Yeah.
Brett Bailey.
Yeah. You would think that Josh would be the real manly man, macho guy who's going to save everybody and survive. But then you're watching, okay, people can laugh at the characters that run away, but boy, Nick was a smart one. I'm running.
Yeah, he was.
But
I really wanted to get that relationship, because Josh's character, he was always in charge of everything. So it was nice for him to, first you see Adam's character, kind of the funny guy that's kind of like quirky and not very socially inept. And then, you start warming up to him, and he starts owning his own power, and he starts coming into power, and and then just the opposite with Josh. He was always like the father figure to Adam's character, and then to see him kind of relent to his brother, and being like, what do you think? Instead of always going, we're going to do this. It's like, well, what do you think? It was recognition that his brother is a man and a human being that can make choices and solid choices, and he really wanted to know what should we do next.
Yeah,
so it was really important to be able to see both of those characters' arcs go through the movie that way.
Because we really see Rebecca, Jordan, and Josh, they're essentially quote unquote fully formed adults and functioning in an adult world. Nick is not. Nick is the guy that brings his 10 cans of chili and no can opener.
Exactly.
But I love, not to give away any spoilers, but what you do with the characters of Nick and Jesse, wow. You come full circle on both counts with both of those characters, and you've got a common ground that is priceless. Priceless.
Yeah, that's about 6 months in a room pounding away at the keyboard with me and Jason. So, I'm glad that it came out on the screen that way.
Yeah, and of course the makeup on Kathleen Quinlan, I've never seen her look so old and decrepit as she does in Act 3, because that's so not her. But just so well done all the way around, Drago. Because this was your first feature, and not just directing, but co-writing and directing. What did you learn about yourself as a filmmaker? Going beyond what you've learned over the past 20 years as a stunt coordinator, a fight choreographer, doing stunts, teamwork, collaboration for safety's sake. What, now that you were the one in the big chair, you're in the high chair, you're at the top of the stairs now. What did you learn about yourself as a filmmaker that you can now take forward into future films? And I damn well better see future films with you directing them, because you're really good at it.
Thank you. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I would definitely, one for the first part, I guess, would be that, I really enjoy directing and see myself doing a lot more of it, and maybe just going full time into that. And I think what I learned was, I've always known this working, but, it's the collaboration process. Whereas normally there's like maybe 2 or 3 people I collaborate with, with stunts, and, or if somebody has me come on as an actor doing my own stunts, it's like I collaborate with, the director and the writers and then the cinematographer. Whereas, as the director and writer, you had to connect with every single cast member, every single crew member, because it's like, we're all a team trying to get the same thing, which is a movie in a can, and to get it the best that we can. And so everybody has ideas of how to do that. So, you really have to be open to collaboration and implementing it. But you also have to have that vision. That's the important part is, you can't sacrifice your vision just to collaborate with somebody. But you also have to detach that ego so that you are open to the collaboration, to make a scene better. And just going forward, I just see myself being, more and more open to that.
Now, do you have any kind of idea what kind of films do you want to do more in this quote unquote horror thriller genre? Do you want to expand your genre horizon? Any clue where you think you might go directorially?
Yes, I have like some. Sci-fi is like my number one genre. I love it. So I would really love to do like a sci-fi series or a sci-fi film. I definitely want to do more horror. Really want to delve into the different genres of horror. Get a slasher film, do a fantasy horror, or just kind of get into all the little minutia genres of horror itself, and then obviously get into some action films as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of see myself pretty much doing it all. I just don't want to be pigeonholed into one genre. I just really like making film, and I love watching film of all different types of genres. So I just want to also put that out there.
Well, the stairs is definitely a step in the right direction, because right off the bat, you show us how adept you are at character development and focusing on a story built on character and not action. And I just love it. I got one last question for you, Drago. The big one.
Okay.
Who came up with the look of the white chalky creatures? I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah, that was. So I went online and I was just like looking up all kinds of concept art. I kind of knew an idea of what I wanted, but then I was like jumping into more of the details. Really wanted more of like a collarbone and protruding, and so then I was like looking up that kind of stuff. So I went to our special effects, creature effects, which is Bandersnatch Studios, and just gave them a plethora of pictures and of like, I don't want any ears. Little to no eyeballs. I don't want to give too much spoilers away, but,
right.
Just the details that I was like going through with them. And then we had a concept artist that Jason knew that kind of drew up our main creature, the Grub Daddy. And then I already knew exactly what I wanted for the Grub Baby. So I think maybe knowing what I wanted for the Grub Baby spawned what I knew what I wanted for the older version of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very cool look. And of course, I think it's important that everybody knows that we have a body burning scene here, and that's not CGI. That's legitimate.
That's true.
That is practical. That was you.
Yeah, that was me. We did that on the last night, to make sure, because the stunt and safety in me still is like, on a normal set, if a director came to me and said, hey, I want to do the body burn, I've done these before, I'd be like, no, because if something happens to you, we can't shoot the film.
Right.
Same thing with actors. There's so many actors that want to like do a stunt, and I'm like, well, that seems like a simple stunt, but if you twist your ankles and the production's screwed, we got to wait until you're healed. So, that's why we get stunt doubles. But what we did is we saved it for the very last night. We did all the big stunts on the last night and shot it all. And I did the body burn myself. And my team, Ryan Picard and AJ Pogue, who ran fire safety and made sure I was safe. And Jason, my co-writer, also was one of the safeties. And we also had Carlina Gore. They just did a great job, just to make sure that I was safe.
Yeah, it's
obviously getting a good visual experience.
Yeah, it looks fabulous, but I think that in today's world, I think it's so important that people know and appreciate the fact that that is a physical, practical stunt. It is not CGI, because everybody's so used to seeing CGI now that practical stunts. Give me practical stunts every day of the week. And this is one of the big reasons why, because it really does immerse you. And the fact you got a body burn, flaming, running through a forest where anything could happen. I was waiting to see the whole forest go up in flames.
Well, I think we wanted to actually do that, but we were in the middle of a bad fire season. So
yeah.
Even to get the write-off from the fire marshal to do a couple of burns and the body burn itself was kind of a miracle at that time. So, there was a lot of stuff we had to sacrifice because of budget and or timing, and just because we couldn't get it done. But I think that happens in a lot of films.
Yeah. Job well done. I can't wait for people to get to see this. I know it's, one night only in theaters on August 12th?
Yes, in 700 theaters, but then afterwards, I think it runs for about a week or two in some select cities. So,
and then will it be going on to VOD digital so everybody can see it?
Yes, I think that's on the 27th of August. It goes to premium VOD.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Oh, Drago, this has been so much fun talking to you. I can't wait to see what you come up with next, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thanks. Yeah, please pencil me in. I would love to come back on for my next one.